Jay Will. How are you?
Hey man, I'm here. I'm great, man. It's New Year, new opportunity. I'm here. I'm good, man. How you doing? You good? Everything here?
I'm great. Dude, I haven't talked to you in so long. So much has happened since the last time I saw you.
The history between us is crazy, man. It's deeper than anything, man. It goes back, bro.
Dude, when I met you, I think I was 18 or 19. I'm 20.
I think I was
25 now.
I'm 25 as well. We were same age, man. It's crazy, and it was totally different. I don't even think we were thinking we were gonna go this route at this way. You know, it's wild, man.
Dude, I had no idea when I met you. I had absolutely no idea. Like I was going to school for drumming, but then I was doing like record. I mean, that's how I met you. Was recording basically just rappers. Because ironically, singers are hard to come by to like record. When you're trying to record, singers are hard to find, but rappers are always doing something.
Always looking for work, man. Yeah.
But like I had a bunch of friends. I met you through Donovan, but then the pandemic happened, and I started this show because I couldn't gig at all. And I was like, this just kind of became a place where I can talk to cool people. Some of which I'd never met, and then people like you that I have good history with, you know?
The history goes deep, man. It's pretty wild, man, but it's all full circle. You know how it goes.
Well, let me do your intro. So the last episode I did was last year. I was with Gail King, and I had just started doing this thing where I do like a kind of a cold open beforehand, where I go and my roommate, who's an incredible videographer, shoots like he films it, where we do this intro where I introduce the person and just stand in basically some part of New York City, because my idea was if I'm gonna pay the rent to be in New York City, I might as well make the show, you know what I mean? Like take advantage of that.
Right out here.
But unfortunately, the 2 days that I was going to go shoot it, the first day we had a snowstorm and the second day we had a rainstorm. So I'm going to read you your intro right now and you can critique me on it. You can tell me what you think. But I would say tonight's guest is a great friend of mine, a rapper and an actor who you might know from shows like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and Tulsa King. He's also starring alongside Mary J. Blige, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Camila Cabello in the brand new film Rob Peace, which premieres at Sundance on January 22nd. And then I would say, please welcome to the Vibe Chamber, Mr. J. Will. The intro runs, so I wanted to make sure I got that out of the way.
Hey, man, you did your thing. That was slick. You don't hear those often, so it's like, when those things are lined up, it's like, wow, I guess so.
I like the grandeur of, you know, like guest talk show type things where it's like the big intro and all that.
It makes you feel good, man. It makes you feel good. You do it. You bring the warmth in the room, man. So you got it all right. And some.
Yes, sir. Well, we have a lot to cover, but I want to go, before we get to everything, all this stuff since I've seen you, I want to go back all the way to the beginning of your life, because I want to kind of go through everything, because I knew you in college, but I didn't really get a ton on your background. Now, remind me, you're from, I might get this wrong, South Carolina?
Right, South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, yeah.
Okay, right. Every Carolina friend I have, every time I ask them, I get it wrong. I'm like,
North Carolina.
I get the North and South constantly, so I'm happy I got that.
I don't know, people's like love North Carolina. They like always, they forget about South Carolina, but hey, it's all good. Yeah, South Carolina, Greenville, born and raised out there. And my mother was an African dance teacher, and my father is a barber. So like artist, yet like structured like life at the same time. So I was playing football with my father as my little league coach, and I was like, this is certainly not my, I don't want to continue to do this for the rest of my life. I'm getting banged up. I feel like I'd rather go a more like metaphysical route with my career. And so my mother was teaching at an acting school. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it an opportunity. I'm gonna just try it. Mind you, I never ready to play a day of my life. I didn't really know what the difference was between TV and plays. I just wanted to give it a shot. And I went to this, I auditioned for the school. I got in, and it was in Greenville, South Carolina. This is high school. This is a boarding high school. And there I learned all of like the technicalities of how to act on camera, how to act in theater, how to, the classics, contemporary pieces and everything. Just specified the technique of it all. But after maybe 2 years, I moved to New York, and that's when you and I met. 3 years after that, I moved to New York, and I think a year after I left from South Carolina, I decided I wanted to take the music serious, the acting. So
So what
it
point
started.
exactly? How old were you right when you were playing football and you decided this is not for
Uh,
me?
oh man, it had to be like it was ninth grade year,
So
ninth grade.
leading up to that, was there any like history of you having anything to do with acting or entertainment besides
No,
obviously your mother is an entertainer?
no, not at all, not at all. It was. I mean, I'm sports background. Basketball and football was the thing, and I was the one who took the lonely road. With with something a little bit, I guess, weird. I'm the actor kid who was like reading books at the table. At these
Hmm.
family reunions, everybody at the basketball court. But it's it all turned out well. But that was around ninth grade, eighth grade, around that time. But yeah, it changed really fast for me.
What'd your family think about that? Saying, you know what, everyone I know is into sports, but I'm going to try something that's. I mean, it's not to say that sports are like a traditional career path, but I'd say a little more so than saying I'm going to become, an actor or a musician or something like that.
Yeah, it's like the acting thing is a little bit more difficult to get any type of stability in. So as
Hmm.
parents, they don't really like want to give. They want the best for their kids, and the best might be like a regular 9 to 5 job. A regular job that has a paycheck biweekly, and you have a structure, plan every week. So they were kind of like, I don't know, but I think they saw a little bit more promise in it once I got to Juilliard. Once I went to New York, they saw how serious it was. Because once I got there, all it took was me getting like professional representation um, to help me
I
out.
don't think
But
you had any. Did you have a rep when I met you?
no, I didn't, man. I didn't. I think to be real, bro. I think I was. It was like my first year at Juilliard when you and I met.
Yeah, I
This
guess
was
if I was like 2018, or if I
2018.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, if I was like 18 or 19, then that was freshman year or something like that.
yeah, bro. None of that, man. I got my rep at my last year in college in 2021. So it was so far afterwards. But yeah, man, I went against the grain on it with my family, but they ultimately just wanted me to do what was the best for me. But it was weird. It's like, what is what are you doing? What is this, like Shakespeare? You do it, But
So
it ended up
when you
well,
decided
right?
that you were going to do that, were you hanging out still with like sports friends that you had from before, or were you kind of going into a scene with other people who were interested in the arts?
I think I just started to like look up and like, wow, okay, I'm around these people who are in that, but I'm drawn to this specific other thing here. And so when I got to New York, it was like, oh, it's like there's no football here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
even seen a football field since I've been out here. But yeah, I don't know. My parents had a different outlook on it, but eventually they started to really let go. Once they saw like I didn't really need the attachment of other people who were doing it before me. I kind of felt like always detached from other other people who did it, just to find my own road. No definition to it, but I found it eventually. But yeah.
When did you decide Juilliard was the place to go? Did you have a bunch of places that you were looking into, or is that kind of like? I mean, for acting, it's kind of like the mecca. There's really no other place. But I don't know. Were you looking at any other places?
It was a weird thing, man, because I wanted to go to Juilliard before I even knew what Juilliard was. I just wanted. I was like, I want to go to the best acting school in the world. I want to go to that. Like, where did Denzel go? I know Denzel ain't go there, but some of the best people, the best actors and artists I looked up to at that time went to Juilliard. And I was like, okay, so if that's how I can I can get to a place of relatability in my career if I go that same route. So it's a crazy story with this one, man. When I graduated high school, I wanted to go to Juilliard. When I was at the Governor's School of Arts for the one I told you about earlier, I wanted to go to Juilliard, but I had a crazy freak accident, man. I messed up my Juilliard application. So I wasn't even able to submit it. It was like, I was like 7 days behind. I called, I was like, hey, I just want to make sure my application went through, whoop, whoop. And they were like, the applications, the deadline was on the 7th. And it was like the
Oh,
14th.
well then
And I was,
how did you fix that?
dude, I had to wait a year, but I mean, I wasn't focused that first time, man. I was kind of just scattered brain. I thought it was going to work itself out for me. I didn't think I would have to go out and make it happen, but I they did this thing called Unified. So all of the schools that you audition for are in Chicago, called Unified. Juilliard and all the other schools, Carnegie Mellon, um, Brown University. You audition for those schools in Chicago, January this time in high school. I knew it was too late. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just walk up to Juilliard and just see, let's just see what happens. And they had like 5 slots that were empty. I was like, you know what's the worst they can do? Tell me no. So I walked up and I was like, hey, look, this is the situation. And I really, really want an opportunity to come. Could you please just like, is there any way? No, it's against protocol. We can't. Please, just please, any way can you just make this happen? No, but we can take your headshot and resume. So I gave them my headshot and resume. They told me to audition the next year. So I had to go to a different school, but they remember me because I went back the next year and I was like, hey, I'm that kid that, came in. It was like, yep, come on this way. We'll get your audition set up.
That's actually, that's an underestimated, like under talked about thing is that, everyone talks about when you want to get something, you kind of, you work as hard as you can for it. And then it either works out or it doesn't. But there's something really, really, really significant about laying the groundwork and then kind of backing off, whether, in your situation where there was nothing more you could do or you choose to. It's kind of like you lay those bricks and then you kind of, you can build a foundation from that later on. That really is something that I've kind of, found as I've gotten older.
For sure, and it's just like it's trusting that foundation is there, trusting that foundation is stable, that the house isn't made out of hay, and then when the troubles come, it's gonna stick and stand on this ground, and I had to trust myself with that, I didn't know if those were gonna link later on, but I went in 100%. They said no, but the best I could do was what I did, and I trusted that. And went back around, and they were like, "Yeah, we're ready for you. Let's like do what you got to do."
Where'd you go in that gap year between? Where'd you go?
I went to North Carolina School for the Arts. It was a great school too, but it wasn't what I wanted. First week over there, I'm filling out my Juilliard application. I was already. I didn't want to be there anymore. No offense to the school, I just wanted for myself. And
so was it kind of hard for you to focus on the actual education that year because you're thinking like, man, I'm basically delayed a year. My real start is going to happen when I get to Juilliard.
Man, let the truth tell it, man. All I needed to do for myself, I mean, I had my personal goal was once I found out my credits wouldn't transfer, I was like, all right. I was like, all right, what I'm gonna do? I got a car now. I'm gonna be late to class here, but I got a school to go to next year. It sounds crazy, but I wanted to enjoy that little bit of time. I did everything I needed to do at that school, but once my time was done, when I got that letter, I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna enjoy myself and really start preparing for my big move. And it happened the way it was supposed to. I didn't even tell my mom I was going to fly out there and audition. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody. I told one person, my best friend, just so he can help me cultivate the process. But beyond that, everybody found out once I was already done and I signed the contracts or whatever. And I told them I was on my way. So it was.
Was there a specific reason why you were keeping it kind of private? Because I personally like to kind of, when I'm working on something that I don't know is a guaranteed, I try to tell as little people as possible because I'm not a very superstitious person, but I do kind of get nervous. I think like the more you talk about something, the less likely it is to happen. There's something about keeping it internal that I don't know what it is. And again, I'm not really superstitious.
I agree with you, bro. I agree with you, man. It's a real thing because it's like it's something about in the invisible when you're like charging that thing up, it amplifies a little bit more. Like it becomes a little bit more charged up. But like talking about it for me, it just would have made the expectation would have been higher. It wouldn't even be about me anymore. It would have been about making it happen because now they know and now they know. So now it's like what I'm gonna look like if it doesn't happen. And I didn't want to go through that type of. I didn't want to go through that type of self-judgment. So the best thing for me was just to stay true to my guns and let nobody know. And even my mother, they're the one who I love the most on this planet, didn't even know until I got back because I had to make that big jump for myself and take on the consequences for myself because it was a big step. I've never been to New York. I'm from the South, Southern boy from the country, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go out to New York. And I'm over here looking like, wow, this is crazy. And seeing them flying on the plane, seeing this whole skyscraper, I knew this was my home. I knew this is my home, but I didn't know why I felt this way, but I felt so connected to the city. I couldn't deny it. When I got back, I was like so convinced. I was like, yeah. I'm out of the South. I made it out of the South.
There's something about New York that like you either look at it and you go, I never want to go there ever for any reason, or you're like, I need to live there for the rest of my life. It's
Oh,
there's something crazy about it. And I know people who have lived in a bunch of cities and they say that New York just has this like certain, it's the only major city I've lived in, so I don't know from personal experience, but they say it's different than, Chicago or San Fran or something like that.
man, it's different from any other place on earth, man. And it has this energy bubbles, this energy pool out here, man. I just got back from down south yesterday, and I was down there since Christmas. And as soon as I stepped back in the city, I just felt the energy just totally different. It's just like a grind mode, like hustle, make it happen. It is very like it's like an assimilation for sure.
So
But
you still living on the East Coast?
I'm living, oh, man. It's I'm living where the living needs to be lived, man. I'm living in the East Coast, down south. The festival is next week, so I'm about to do a big bounce around Oklahoma City, down South Carolina, Utah. So it's gonna be. I'm not even sticking anywhere right now. It's pretty crazy. But I'm in New York right now. I just got in, so yeah, New York is the temporary home.
When you're in New York, is it more of a focus like this is my in between time for acting, or are you doing just as much? And is it different than the kind of work that you'd be getting, on the West Coast? Are you doing more theater stuff here? How does that work when you're going between all those different
Good
places?
question. Great question. I don't, it's crazy. I haven't even, though I had like a massive theater background, classically trained, I haven't done theater ever since I graduated. And personally, I don't really find a desire for theater right now. Like it was what I studied for the last 8 years. However, it doesn't really fulfill what I want to go down the path right now. But so I haven't even done it. I don't even know what theater's like, what the theater is like out here in New York, down south, or anything. But usually when I was fortunate enough for Tulsa King, when I was shooting in Oklahoma, I had like it was Sylvester's schedule, so we're not gonna be out till 10. We're not gonna be out 10 o'clock p.m. because he doesn't want to be out that late, and I respect that. So I had that schedule myself. It was like a 9 to 5. After I got back from work, I would, go back and be producing and recording beats all day for the rest of the night, just every day that I got back. So I think a scattered brain and always working on duality really helps me push my creative. If I'm doing this over here and over here, I'm recording my music, and it's like it does something to the creative soul for me, because it's not separate. It's just different mediums,
You can kind of clear your brain from one thing, but without doing nothing. You know what I mean? You're not clearing your
Yeah,
brain by just sitting around. You're clearing it by doing something completely else. And that when you go back,
that's
yeah.
good. That's great. Yeah, it's a good thing because you never know. It's not separate, man. It's just like you clear your brain based off of what brings you love and what brings you joy.
Yeah.
That's that's the shower. So
You know,
yeah, dude, that's a good one.
what's funny? I was gonna tell you when because I really didn't know anything about your acting till, well, I'll tell you. I had only known you as a rapper because I was like, oh, that's Jay Donovan's friend that
Yeah,
raps, right? But I remember the first time we were in my college dorm in college, and we were in those booths down in the basement. And I remember, I don't know I think it was Max Fagan's beat or something like that.
yeah.
And Donovan had a verse on it, and you were like, maybe like you didn't have anything yet, and you're like, well, let me just sit. And you're like, pulled out a notebook and you wrote something, and I just remember I can't remember what the song. I don't think the song ever came out. It might have had like an uncleared
Probably
sample,
did.
which is
Yeah,
a lot of Max's beats have uncleared samples.
yeah, they do, man. They do. It's
They're
like, man, all right, man.
insane beats, but it's like unless you're
You
Jay-Z,
never
you're
gonna
not
be.
gonna get the.
This ain't never getting out, man. It's gonna be for the homies.
Yeah, he had that one beat that was so good. It was a Masego
Oh
sample.
yeah,
That beat was
yeah.
so good.
I was like, this ain't never getting out. This ain't never going nowhere, man. But hey,
No,
it's a good.
but my point is, I remember that first recording session. You were like, yeah, I go to school for Juilliard, and I was like, they teach rapping at Juilliard, and then you're like, no. I'm an actor, and I'm gonna tell you this, and it's funny now. I was like, there's no fucking way that the guy who just spit that verse, this isn't his full-time thing. I just remember it was so good. I was like, this is like K Dot and JID. I was like, I was like, there's no way. I was like,
That's love,
there's no way this guy is going to be an actor. And that's just, I'm not bullshitting you. This is my
bro.
genuine. And then I hadn't heard from you in a while, and we had finished mixing that EP. What was the one that had Growing Pains on it? What was that called?
Bro, that was before the Dreamers tape. That was my first EP, man. Bro, to this day, we're gonna get to that. But that right there, yo, I could go back to it, and man, yeah, it's different, bro.
But
it's different.
I hadn't heard from you in a while, and then I'm like on Facebook, and it's like Sylvester Stallone new show with Jay Will, and I'm like,
wait.
Jay Will, like the guy, like the guy whose EP I record, like no,
yeah, no.
And then I saw the funniest thing is, then I saw a YouTube video where it was like Jay Will interview for Tulsa King, and it's a different dude in the thumbnail. It's not you. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was right. It's not him. This is a different guy. They had gotten they took, I don't know how they did it. They filmed you and someone else and then put another guy in the thumbnail. And so, yes. So for like 2 months, I was like, oh, so it's not Jay Will, the rapper.
That's crazy.
It's some other Jay Will. And then I was like watching Paramount Plus, open it up, because I worked at Paramount. I worked at CBS, the television the company, the television company at that time, and I'm like, it's Jay Will. There it
is. Yo, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, so I had like 3 months where I was just like, I had absolutely no idea, and then I see you driving the taxi with Cash In, Cash Out playing. Amazing song, by the way. I don't know how they cleared that. That's crazy.
I don't know how they cleared that, man. But that's yeah.
But that my point is, I was just like, there's absolutely no way that someone who can rap this well is also. And then I was like, well, there's some precedence for it of people who can do that, but it's not often. So first of all, congrats. But I wanted to ask, so between that time in college, or when I met you in college to obviously now, like, what was your first gig that you got? What was your first real acting gig immediately out of college after you got your representation?
Man, my first acting gig right out of school was a movie called It Doesn't Matter by Josh Mon. And Josh Mon had this other movie named James White that won Sundance Film Festival in 2016, 2015, or something like that. And then this guy was like this very experimental film, yo. Like, mind you, Juilliard got script. I had scripts, man. I had like whole characters that I could like revert to and know the history of these guys. This guy, it was such a raw project that there was no script. The script was video recordings of like accumulation of like self diaries over a whole year, mashed into a 90-minute feature film that I had a visual script and I saw like how the character would talk and interact with people. And so basically what I was given was the circumstances. They would tell you, this is who he is, this is what he goes through, this is basically what's going on. And we went to Hawaii. We were in Portland, Oregon, Paris, and I was acting as if I was this guy. I would have the camera, manipulating the camera and recording the other people, getting their opinion on who they thought my character was, and I would go into the story of how I'm here and what I'm doing here and what I'm looking for and all of that. That was my first gig out of school. It's called It Doesn't Matter. The film hasn't even come out yet, but it's about to go on its own festival run right now. But this was 3 years ago, so you see how long it takes for movies to finally get to a place of like, all right, here you go, come and check out what we did.
And you improv all that dialogue?
It wasn't improv, but it was the style of it was very, it was like a documentary. And so the acting had to be complete natural, completely like, it was, it was as if, I wasn't even acting, I had to learn the lines like that, like very conversational, very like, just like this, like pretty much like this. And that was my first one. Then I did a show called Evil. That was crazy. That was a really good one. It was a guest star role. And this was like some of my most brokest days right out of school, man. And I needed a little check. And I was like, yo, they didn't tell us how hard it's going to be when you get out of school. So fortunately enough, it happened. It happened soon, right after I graduated. But then COVID was still going on, so it was a long delay before that. You know, I graduated during COVID, then the strike happened, so it's been hell. But at the same time, it's been a balance of silent successes. So, but then that was my second role, Marvelous Miss Maisel, and then I think it was Tulsa came right after that. Then it to a whole nother level. But I was auditioning. I had to audition in maybe 40 auditions, probably booked like 5 things.
Just for Tulsa King?
No, this is all different projects
Oh,
right after
I was like, damn, Fort, that's a lot of callbacks.
Nah, but I auditioned for 4 different characters and I only played one, man. Nah, that would have been crazy. But maybe like 40 different movies, films, and theater plays, and only probably book 5 of them. You know, so the law of averages is real, man. It's like you never know. You just go for what you know you're passionate about, and just see if it's gonna unfold. And you know, maybe you'll be reflected back and you get it. You know, but yeah, man, I did a few things, but so far, man, I don't have a favorite. But Rob Peace was probably the one that like stuck to my heart the most, man.
I'm so excited to see that when that comes out, and it's gonna open wide, right? It's opening at Sundance on the 22nd, and then it's gonna open wide soon after that.
It's gonna open wide. Yep, right after that. But you know, me and you gonna have a conversation, and I can slide you a little algorithmic code. You know, early.
Look, I like to feel like I'm professional press. It makes me feel cool.
Hey, I'll give it to you, man. You know, homie, man. We go back.
But wait, I have a bunch I want to ask about Rob Peace, but I want to go. So when you get when you get Tulsa King, is that a direct result of your role on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel? Or is it more your representation having connections? How did that really come about?
What's crazy, I'll even go back. It Doesn't Matter movie, the first film I did, the first thing, I got that from my music videos. The video No Cap.
The one at the Fulton Street Station, right?
Fulton Station, yes, yes. Rapping to the beat while you get choked up. Yes, that got
capitalism with no cap, though.
Yeah, no. Yeah, bro. That got me the big one, man. That got me my first movie, and then after that, I did the auditions after that. My manager sent me out for the Marvelous ones. They sent me out for the Evil. But my first role was from the rap music. It was from my videos, you know. And then it started to like, all right, send an audition tape in, you specify it. But sometimes these people aren't really looking for you to do them. They know what they want, man. Yeah. They know what they, most of the time. So
did you have an idea of where you wanted to go in terms of the type of acting you were going to do? Because obviously, an actor wants to be versatile, but were there any particular skills that you had early in your career, especially coming out of college, where you're like, these are the kind of things where I feel that I fit best, or I just enjoy doing the most?
Man, I don't know, man. I just wanted to go to the best acting school in the world, man. And I don't know how I had the consciousness over thinking like, well, I want a representation that like it can give me any job that I want to get, that can give me those big roles that I want to play, those like clutch buzzer beater shot roles. I really want to have those, and I knew that I couldn't go to no small boutique, agency to try to get that. I was like, I had to really shoot for the stars, man. But I didn't really know. I knew what kind of roles I wanted to play, though. I knew what direction I wanted to go in my career for sure. I knew I didn't want to do theater when I was just like a second year in college. That really wasn't my style. I don't really. It's really stylistic stuff. I like the naturalism stuff, man. I like the real life stuff, man. Real people who work, regular lives, like the garbage man who has 5 children, is struggling to pay his bills every day, but wakes up at 6 o'clock in the morning to deal with the world, and comes back home to that. Like the realness of that is what I'm drawn to. And maybe sci-fi.
And kind of like you get more subtlety to your performance with those type of characters, right?
100%, yeah. And I think I can really I can allow that to help feed the music too. I don't know. I have my theories. Most of the time, man, the viewers are the ones who define what the career of these actors, the artist is, just based off of their projection of the artist. So I got to be really careful about the stuff that I do, man. Very, very careful, man. Because most of the time it's the fans who are like, oh, I can't see this, or I can't see this, or I can. And, the doorkeepers hear that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
and they try to apply that, so
So you're worried
got
about like the content of the music you put out under your own name. You're thinking maybe
well, not
people who,
necessarily the music, but the acting, the stuff that I choose, the roles that I do. The music, I mean, I feel like I can get as crazy as I want to. I can say whatever I want to with the
yeah.
music because I want it to be such a separate entity,
Mm-hmm.
almost as if like, oh, this guy rap too. Like, I don't really want to be, I want it to be a separate but same entity. But it's like, wow, that's my cousin that's living in Japan. I didn't even know he been over there, but we look just alike. Let's kick it.
Well, that was my exact experience, just in reverse. It was, oh, this guy wants to be an actor. Oh, good for him. I'm sure he'll be great.
Yeah, man. Nah, bro, it's crazy, man. But it's all the fucking learning lesson, man. I'm figuring it out, man. But I think I found the flow. But who knows, man? It's like this. It always goes up and down, man. It always goes up and down.
It's always an interesting business, both music and any type of acting, stage or film or television, where that, even some less than likely jobs, sports or something like that, there's a little more consistency. But with something like acting or music, it really is, you're constantly kind of have a fire under your ass because things shoot for a week here and then there's nothing for 3 months, or you're doing a million things at once. That's got to keep it interesting, right?
It keeps it very interesting, man. But I had to really submit to that type of shit, man. I had to really submit to the fact that I don't know what's my next thing gonna be. I have to really prepare. I have to stay prudent and stay ahead, months ahead of the curve. Like I can get, mind you, Rob Peace. We finished that in November 2022. That was we finished filming in Brazil this time last year, like literally today, last
Wow.
year. So it's been a thing. Like at this point, I've been trying to work on the next couple of things after that. We're working on 2025, 2026.
Yeah.
It's because the editorial process takes forever, man.
So important though. So important.
Oh,
Crazy.
it is, dude. It's and I'm figuring this out with this about the mixing, and I got to a place where I can, I've been figuring out, okay, how can I manipulate my sound to how I want it to be, and man, it's really like 30% substance and like 70% editorial, to be real, man. It's really like, what can you do in the editorial room? What can you do in that mixing room? And how can you really, I've literally turned songs into like whole, like one little mantra into a whole like song, so
musically,
alpha editing.
what projects are you working on right now? You have a full album coming, or are they singles? Like what are you doing for rap?
3 albums right now, man. I have one album with a producer that I've been working with, very like Earl Sweatshirt type beat, like Mike type, sample driven, loopy. And I have another one that I've been producing myself under a whole new artist named Nueve. And it's been like more like Pharrell type, the Pharrell type, 808 type stuff.
Yup.
Yeah.
Did you hear that new song? He did a song with was it Sway Lee? It just came out a month or two ago. It's kind of like a reggaeton beat, but it's like, I can't remember who has it, but it's so Pharrell. It's like the most Pharrell beat. It's so good because it's like this reggaeton beat, but it's got like those like kind of airy 808s underneath
toms, man. It's them toms, man. It's the toms, yo. Man, I've been for months, man. I love it. I'm gonna send it to you, man. I'm gonna send it to you to get your input. But it's called Nueve. It's a self-titled album, man. And I've been cultivating this since Tulsa King, man. When we shot last year, August last year. Actually 2 years ago almost, and that's when I started the project, and I'm just now figuring out, okay, this is the sound for this body of work. So it takes a long time, it takes a long time, but now I'm at the place of like, I want other people to hear it and get input, on sounds, and so yeah, man.
Did you shoot all of Tulsa King in Oklahoma, or is anything in LA? How was that for?
We shot it all in Oklahoma, and some in like a couple of days in Tulsa, but my character's line of the story didn't end up in New York, but they shot in New York too. But next season, I'm gonna be up in New York.
hey, look! Don't get yourself in trouble. Don't mess up any NDA stuff. I don't want to.
Hey, look! I don't want to, but hey, it's gonna branch out a little bit, man.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited to see it.
So,
But now Rob Peace. Now that's the big thing because that's what's immediately coming up.
yeah.
Who called you to do that? When did that happen? I know you said you stopped filming a year ago. When did that process start from the absolute inception or conception?
Man, all right. So this is crazy. This film was supposed to be done like 2000. Now you getting some real tea here, man. You get some. This film was supposed to be done before pandemic. There was another guy that was up for the character that I played, Rob. Pandemic happened. He started to age. He started to look a little bit older. Rob was. I don't know if I'm the youngest looking guy, but I don't look that old, especially when I cut my hair.
Yeah, of
And
course.
so they had to choose another option, and I'm like trying to figure out what my next role is going to be. My manager emails me the script, the tragic life of Robert Peace of the book. It's like they're auditioning for this. You would love it. Da, da, da. I'm like, all right, give it a shot. I look at it, read it. I was like, yo, this guy here is like me coming from South Carolina and going to like Juilliard. We had a lot of similarities, a lot of personal things that was never like nobody knows. For instance, his first name was Deshaun. My middle name is Deshaun,
Uh-huh.
spelled I don't think the same way, but it sounds the same way. And I took that. I was like, this is an interesting omen. So I read it immediately. I was man. It transcended me, man. It shook me up, man. It was new. It was a story like that needed to be told, like that we haven't seen yet before. We've seen outcomes similar to it. However, like we haven't seen this one yet in this way. And so I sent the audition back. I don't know if it was like a week or so afterwards. I got the invitation for a callback to Chutel, and we did 101s. And he was like, "Yeah, we would love for you to come and do the role." And I was like, "I would love to do the role."
Yeah.
But the thing that really shook me up was the fact that this was a real living guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never played like a guy who was was really here, and like passed away, got slain, and so I found like I figured there was a lot of sensitivity around his existence with his family and everything. So I was like, let me honor that. Let me like try to figure out how I can like who is his family? Are they cool with this? Do they feel are they fun? Do they even know this movie's gonna go down? So I did some of my personal research, found his family, found his brother, found his mom and everything out in Jersey where the film was shot. I asked if I can come over and let them just speak with them about get permission, just talk. So I wanted to get permission to see if I could play the role because I felt like, yo, man, like this is your son. I really want to honor him, and I want to ask him. So I'm sitting on his couch. I'm sitting on this childhood couch, man. I'm sitting in his childhood home. And I walked in there, and my voice was shaking, and I was so nervous, hands sweating, and I was like, hey, I feel like I'm nervous right now, but I really want to have the opportunity to bring to give a voice to your son's story, And I don't know if they Paramount or anybody asked you if they could do anything like this, but I wanted to just come up and ask you and look you in your eyes and see if this is okay for me to do because I want to respect the circumstances of it all, but if you're willing for me to do this, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna tell the truth and everything, the best of my ability. And she never said yeah. They never said no. But it was just like a thing of like, hey, man, I can really move back off this right now. But whoever's gonna fulfill this, they probably not gonna knock on your door and ask you to do this. So I just want to let you know. And eventually they started calling me back, like, yeah, they never said yeah, but it was indirect, like, so how's it going? And like, oh, I was like, all right. So eventually, man, and they were really there, man. But it's a real near and dear thing to them, and I wanted to really honor that, respect it, because it's a real living soul. It was a real living soul.
It's got to be kind of difficult when you're in a role where you have so many similarities with someone.
Yeah.
Which, you think, oh, that makes it easier. I can connect with it easier. But when you're portraying someone real, is it a little more difficult to say, I am so connected to this person, but at the same time, you don't want to be Jay Will, you want to be them. So you have to kind of
Yeah.
adopt the things that are similar, but then not get into the habit of saying, try to get separated from the fact that it's you,
Yes, man, and it's a real thing, man, and it's an energy exchange, which you bring up. You're really allowing yourself to be. So Raji P. Henson talks about this all the time, and just how spiritual this is. This is, man. You allow this character to have a position and an opinion about themselves through you, and you have no type of you have to stay neutral. But most of the time, this is really um, just crayons that we already have in our own pack. Like I was, for instance, there were like pictures of the way the original Rob sat in Brazil on the steps that we shot, and I tried to sit that same way. And Tua was like, "All right, don't do all that. Like we can chill a little bit. Like just sit how you want to sit." So there's a balance to it. You don't want to overdo it, but because in the end of the day, it's really your story too. It's like you're letting them know your story too through their story.
Mm-hmm.
Though it's factually and everything, but you're the one who's giving it. You're the vessel. You have the well of experience personally to make it real. So there is a balance, man. There is a balance. But I did deal with a lot of like emotional turmoil with this one, man, because I really felt like I started to really experience the things that I don't know what he was going through during the last quarter of his life, man. I don't know, but the things that were implied in the script, man, the paranoia, the like sadness, the heartbreak, the resentment for family and disappointment, I really took that in. I really allowed that to really work inside of me man. And I paid a price, yo. I paid a price because it wasn't mine. They aren't my heartbreaks. They aren't my paranoias. They aren't, but I allowed it to be real.
Yeah.
And I had to go to my home and bring that there, and I had to go back to set. And eventually, man, it all crashed down, man. I had nights where I would be like, I didn't know how I would get back the next day. The workload, I'm getting big page monologues the day of, barely memorize what we about to work on, 10 minutes till we shoot. It got crazy, but I had to allow myself to be like, this is the best I got and I'm going to come with it.
And it's got to be good training for the fact that, at the end of the day, art aside, you are working on a professional set. So you have to be able to give as good of a performance as possible, be as in it as possible, but on the schedule of any other business. So having that practice of having to be able to take a role like this that's so deep and so tough to do, but get it done on a schedule. If you can do something like this and get that done, that's like a crazy practice.
This was a crazy practice, and the biggest part of it all, it was the clearing out, the allowing it to be like, all right, this wasn't my story. It's done now. It's done now. When they call cut it off emotionally. Like I meant like it, and it was like a set stage that they like built up. Like we were at real location.
Yeah.
We were at real grave sites. We were at real really on the street in his neighborhood. Like, people who really knew Rob was out there watching the film be done. It was really intense, man. It was really intense, man. But it was nothing that I couldn't handle, yo. But I can't wait till you see it, man.
Dude, I'm so excited. I just got a 4K projector that's above my head, and on my back wall, I put a screen. And like all my favorite thing on my nights off is I just screen movies on like 140-inch screen.
Yo.
So I'm gonna have a full. I'm gonna see every pore of your face in this performance.
It's an IMAX theater in your bedroom.
That's literally what it is. So I'm gonna get the full experience. I'm very excited. Well, Jay, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Always thankful for you, man. And look, we're gonna tap in on a personal tip, but I'm so thankful for you. I'm proud of you, man. Very proud of you personally. And I want to give you your flowers and tell you that, man. You are doing your thing, bro. And I've seen it. Man. I saw it happen before me, man. So I want to give you your flowers too, man. Keep going, man. Keep shooting, man. And it's gonna do what it's been doing, man. I'm proud of you, brother.
I appreciate it. Well, thank you so much. Thanks everyone who watched. We'll be live next week with Bill Wirtz. I'll see you all later.